Hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Roman Just Codes Live Coding After Hours Flutter Edition. I'm Roman. I am a Flutter GDE, lead organizer at GDG Lawrence. I'm also a mentor for the Northeast, for the GDG community. But I'm just happy to be here, one more episode of just giving you, again, like I said, exclusive access to me coding in Flutter. You guys can pick up a thing or two along the way. Please leave me in the comments what you think about my new setup. Like I set up this nice studio here at home so that I can provide you the best content. There's that, that I love in the background. There's that Bat Signal logo, the Bat Signal projection of my logo in the background. It's pretty cool. Leave in the comments what you think about that. It's pretty cool. Again, I'm really happy to be here. Again, like I said, like every week, I've been doing this every week, just doing live coding after hours, coding in Flutter, building a Flutter application from scratch. And then I'll be able to publish it for Android and iOS just right in front of your eyes. No gimmicks, no nothing, no BS, no excuses type of development in Flutter. Like I said, I am a Flutter GDE, Google Developer Expert in Flutter. Very, very excited to share my knowledge with you. And I'm giving you, like I said, exclusive access to me coding. This is just me normally coding at night, Well, with the caveat that I'm turning on my camera so that you guys can take a look at my process, my thought process, how I build applications and whatnot, and you can pick up a thing or two. Leave in the comments anything, if you want to just say hi or anything. Please leave me in the comments, what do you think about these type of sessions? Are these useful for you and whatnot? So I would love to hear from you, definitely. So please make sure that you can scan the QR code on the corner, and you can follow me on Twitter. I'm also, again, there are other videos here on YouTube around Flutter that you would love to take a look at. I will also be leaving some links later on around like some code labs that I've been building. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So I'm going to be building this application that I've been, again, like I said, I've been building this for a couple of weeks, and it's a very casual, simple game. But not because it's just a casual game or a simple application doesn't mean that I'm actually not implementing, very good patterns in the application and things that you can apply in your own applications as well. So it's just, I wanted to make it fun for people to just watch these videos and just look at me, just building this application and whatnot. So I'm making a great progress, but I've left it exactly where I left it last time. So make sure to tune in and check out the videos from the past 2 weeks so that you can see how I started the project, how I started assembling it, and all of that. So stay tuned. Again, leave in the comments anything, any suggestions that you want me to do. If you see me making a mistake, please let me know. It's just me having fun building Flutter applications in front of you, in front of an audience, sharing with the community, which is really, my passion. And I love the way that Flutter has made me a very productive developer. So we're going to get to that application right now. So this is, let me just show you again, the design. What is it that we're going to be tackling? This is the application. Remember I showed you. Let me just show you one more time. So this is the application. This is the way that it's supposed to look like when I end it. And then I'm going to be now showing you what the application looks like in the design. So for today, we're gonna in the previous episode we tackled creating just the shell pages, right? So we're only creating the shells, kind of like just to see how the application will look like. Today we're gonna dive right in more into the gamification, the playability of this application. I'm gonna be doing these little rows that represent like the little like the leaves that the frog is supposed to jump from like leaf to leaf. This is kind of like the premise of the game is a small character like a frog jumping through leaves, and then you do the swiping animation, like the animation of the frog by just swiping on the screen. Hey Sirhan, how you doing, buddy? Thank you. Again, I'm glad that you showed up because you're gonna help me build this application, buddy. So thank you so much for showing up. Yeah, I love the new setup. It looks pretty cool. Just wanted to bring you the best quality and content. So thank you again for joining. Bring your friends, buddy. Bring everybody, anybody that, loves Flutter, just have them come and hang out with us. And again, like, as you've noticed, we have, been taking requests from people, and even you, have spotted a couple of things that are great additions to the application. So please, everybody, welcome to do so. So let's continue over here. So in last episode, I completed like the header, as you can see right there. I'm gonna be completing now the how we're gonna populate the lily pods, like those leaves on the screen. How the screen is going to scroll like throughout all of these like the rows of leaves, so that the frog can jump from side to side. We're gonna do gesture detection today. Hopefully we're gonna be able to cover that. We're gonna be importing some of these assets and whatnot, so it's gonna be pretty cool. So let's start. So I'm just gonna move the design over to the side, but this is what we're gonna be focusing on today. We're gonna do gesture animations, more state management, change notifiers and whatnot. We're gonna be doing like really cool stuff. So just sit there, relax and enjoy, grab a cup of coffee, make fun of me while I make mistakes, anything. You just hanging out, about Flutter and developing cool applications. So why don't we do that? I'm just gonna move this over to the side. And again, I'm gonna leave it where we left off, which is here. Remember, this is where we left off. If I do a Shift R again on the application, we should be able to see launch again. So you see there's a splash screen. There will be a landing page. Remember, we had like a help. We haven't populated that yet. We had like options, it was simple. And remember, we're doing like state management to persist, whether we're doing like easy or hard. We also do the leaderboards, kind of just like the shell of the page. We're gonna continue populating some of those pages, but right now we're just gonna be doing like some of the fun stuff around the game, the game aspect of the application. So we're gonna be doing some refactoring. You're gonna check it out. So when I click start, see, we're gonna do a couple of refactoring in here just to make sure that we, capture the essence of the game well. So why don't we start? If you see, remember the structure that I kept, it was really simple. I had like I had here like services where I was keeping like a game service was kind of like I wanted to keep like a service that I could trickle down throughout all the other widgets so that they can inherit like some of those capabilities. I want to expand some of the functionality in the game service. I don't want to make it into a change notifier. I want to make it into a more global type of service that kind of manages all the other service. So this particular difficulty, I want to extract that into a difficulty service. Why? Because I want it to be the portion that actually persists the difficulty. Then the game service can actually query that. The game service, I want it to be like the kind of like the know-it-all, kind of like this global service that manages, like initializes the game, sets up all the environment, sets up all the values, initializes all the things like the leaves, the field, the user, the player, and all of those things. So I want to start with that. Thank you, programming army. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a pretty cool design. As you can see, I drew it myself. Like I said, like I drew it myself. I created this application myself, and then that's why I wanted to build it in front of you guys so that you can see how I build it from scratch. So this is not hard. It's just that, I happen to have a little bit of a design eye and I know how to draw, so I was able to create these assets. So thank you anyway. Stay tuned because we're going to do a lot of cool things later. So let's begin. One of the things that I wanted to do was import some of those assets that I'm going to be using in my design, which is this. Remember, I'm going to be importing like the leaves. If you see the design, I have like leaves that represent like whether you need to swipe up, down, left, or right to make the character jump. I think I already have the character images, and I need like those lilies, like those flowers floating. So I need that, like a row of lilies would represent like a checkpoint. So let's say if in the easy level, we're going to have like 100 rows. So you're supposed to jump through 100 rows. In the hard level, we're going to have like 200 rows. And then the breakpoints dictate like how much further you are or how much closer to the end you are. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So I already have the images that I want to import. Plus also in my design in here, I don't know if you can see it here in this design, I'm actually using the Dimitri font. So I'm going to be importing the font also so that you can see it in a cooler font. So I'm kind of like revamping this application like I told you guys. And we need to import like the leaves so that the frog sits on top of the leaves, something like that. So let's import some of those assets. One of the first assets that I'm going to import will be the images. So let's start with the images. Remember, I have them in a folder called assets, and right here in my assets inside of my images, I'm just going to drag those images. I'm going to start with these. I'm just going to drag them in here. There we go. It's okay. And also the lily, this is the image that represents the flower, and I'm just going to drop it in here as well. And if you see, there's the lily, we have the leaves and whatnot. Perfect. And also the fonts. I need to import some of the fonts, the Dimitri font. The Dimitri font, I have it in a folder called fonts. I'm just going to drag it in there, and then that's it. So you say probably, okay, so how do you consume that custom font that you just imported instead of having these ugly default fonts? So why don't we start with that? Let me show you how you do it. So I imported the fonts in the, it's called Dimitri. I think that's what it's called. There you go, Dimitri.ttf. So it's a true type font, right? So if you want to use it in your application, then you have to go to the way that I do it is I go to the pubspec.yaml, and it's pretty much standard, like the way to do it. So you go to the section here where the fonts are, and then I'm going to add my new font. So I either uncomment one of these guys right here, or I'll actually, what I do is I copy paste like one of these. So this is the one that we added last time. So we're gonna add another one. This one is we're gonna call it Dimitri, just like this, Dimitri. And then the fonts, because if you saw where the Dimitri font was, let me close these guys, is actually in the same folder as that. So I'm just going to say Dimitri.ttf, that is the name of the font, right? Family, Dimitri, fonts, blah, blah, blah. So now after you do this, now I want all the fonts in the application to actually be consuming that. So if I reload the application, yeah, you won't see anything, like the change won't reflect because you still need to apply it at the root of the application so that it trickles down. Yeah, I'm just going to rebuild, but you still won't see the change. If I go to the start, you see it's still the same. So the way that you apply it, like you apply a custom font, let's say you want it to be applicable to your whole application, go to the material app right here, to the material app. There's this thing that you call theme. So you add a theme and then you say theme data. Theme data is that object that then you can set a bunch of things like, you can set some of the, things applicable to the theme, like the images, the theme, like the color and all of that, the color scheme. In here, there is a property called font family. So because I imported the Dimitri and I created that Dimitri font, so I'm just going to call it Dimitri. That is the same name that is here. So you need to make sure that the same name that is here, you apply it here in the theme data inside of your material app. So if I save it, and let me try now reloading. So if I do like a Shift R, if it doesn't show, you just have to kill the application and start it all over, and then it should be able to show because it needs to interpret that. And there it is. So you see my font is there. Cool. There's a few things that I wanted to just do in there. I see a friend of mine in the audience. Hey, Angel, ¿cómo estás? How you doing, buddy? Long time. Thank you so much for joining. So I'm just gonna continue here, and I think a couple of the things that I wanted to do is just change kind of like the font in there. Like it looks a little weird. You would probably want to add like better sizes for those. So you could do that. You can just change, for example, like those numbers right there. What would I call this component? I think that there was a component that I created. It was in my widgets, and I called it game header panel. So those numbers right there, remember, we're going to change these later once we consume actual data. So I want to change whatever is 16. I'll probably increase it to like 20. Let's try that. So I'll do like 20 on the 16 so that it looks like a little better. So let me increase it to 20, and then let me see what it looks. So I just want them a little bigger. So if I save, yep, and then just reload. There it is. So it looks for example, like in the 2500, I made it a little bigger. This one probably I could do, yeah, where is this one? Yeah, 30. I did 30 on that one. That's okay. Let me increase it a little bit. So let me do like a 35 on those. I want them like a little bit bigger. So if I do that and I reload, yeah, a little bigger. That's okay. You can try to tweak it, as much as you need, but at least I'm just gonna show you how you can do those changes like that. But you see, I was able to import a custom font, and then I'm able to do like make it look a little better, as opposed to like using the default font that you get out of Flutter. So it's better to add like your own fonts. It's pretty cool. So let me close this panel because we don't need it for now. But let's continue with some of the refactoring that I was telling you that we needed to do. So one of the things that I wanted to do was kind of like refactor the game service. The game service, I don't want it to be as a change notifier anymore. I want to create a service that manages the difficulty selected by the user. So instead of having a game service that manages that piece, I'm gonna have a difficulty service.dart, and this I'm just gonna create it really simple, just as a class. I'm gonna call it difficulty service. This one I do want it to be a change notifier, so I say extends change notifier, and then here I'm just gonna move all the things that were in the game service for now. I'm just gonna move it there because I don't want this to be a change notifier, and I'll tell you why. And then here the difficulty service is the one that I do want it to be managing that, because I want that to be the one that actually in the options like in the options page where we trigger the change between the easy and hard, I want that to be a service that manages that page. It's kind of like a good pattern to do like a MVVM type of pattern, like models, views, and view models. In this case, this is going to be kind of like the view model for the options page. But at the same time, it's going to persist whether it's easy or not throughout the application because it's a service that is provided. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to save this. We're going to refactor this in a minute. But going back here, of course, this is failing because the game service is not a change notifier anymore. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to remove the notifier piece from it. And I'm going to add my new change notifier, which will be the difficulty service. And I'll just do the auto import. And there you go. Got it. So now I know, of course, I need to do some other refactoring. The options page, of course, is failing because it's not injecting the game service anymore. We may need it in other circumstances, but for now, the options page is gonna govern, is going to manage the you see this consumer right here is actually listening to the difficulty service. And instead of calling it game service, let me rename it. I'm gonna call it difficulty service for better difficulty service. And if you see now, everything should be working as before. Let me just import this guy. Yeah, I'm importing the difficulty service. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me import this guy, difficulty service. That's exactly how I called it, difficulty service. Let me save it. I'm making sure that I'm importing this guy. Did I type it correctly? Because you know how I am. Perfect. And then I'll do, let me see what's sparking on. Let me undo it the way that it was. So the way that it was like this. It's at game service, right? And then I'm not doing game service. I'm doing the difficulty service. There you go. That's what I wanted. I wanted the auto import. And then instead of game service, I wanted to call it find game service and then call it difficulty service. So that's what I wanted. So let's do this. There we go. Okay. See, it keeps doing that, but it's thinking that because this is the game service, the difficulty service. So if I say diff or like difficulty service, yeah, but it's not like this same instance. It's this guy right here. This is the one that I need. So I'm just gonna do it like that, and see, it should have been the same way. It's just that I was doing like the wrong naming. But check this out. So even like that, if I just do a shift reload, everything should still be the same way. The difficulty service now is going to be the one managing that piece. So if I go to the options, and then if I do easy hard, see, this is the difficulty service keeping track of the changes when I set the game difficulty between easy and hard. So that's what I wanted. I wanted that page to have its own service and then manages it well. So now I can do like the change notifications in that page so that it triggers those changes. Perfect. Now I can go back to the start, and now I'm gonna continue building on this page right here. Perfect. So now that I've already done some of those refactoring, that's awesome. Perfect. Now let's go back to our page. I'm gonna close all of these because I kind of like my environment a little much cleaner. So if I come back over and then I go to my game page, that's the one where I'm gonna be doing pretty much all of those things. So I'm going to my game page. So in the game page, as you see, the only thing that I have right now is just the game header panel, which is at the top. I have the bottom image, which eventually will convert that into a component and whatnot. But for now, all I have is a stack with the water in the background, the bottom panel, and the game header panel, which contains all of that up there. Perfect. If I show you the design, so this is what we're trying to accomplish now. So I want to have a row of leaves that show randomly like this. So then what you need to do is when you look at the next row of leaves, you need to see what is the direction of the leaf. Is this going up? If it's going down, left or right? And then you swipe according to that direction. But I don't want like many in one row. I only want one per row. So the way that I usually go about when doing this logic is I represent like those entities in a game as models. So for example, a leaf, I create a leaf model. right? A frog model, like a checkpoint. So I create like those leaves and I create them as models because if you see, for example, a leaf will have a direction. A leaf will be up, down, left, or right. A leaf will have like a bug. And you see when it has a bug, it may have like some points that you can assign to it. You would know, for example, whether you are in a checkpoint when you can add more of these leaves to the side. So I want that leaf model to kind of manage those things. You can do it in multiple ways, but you could do that like that. So I'm just gonna create a leaf model that will represent that. One of the things that of course I'm gonna do is, as you know, so I'm gonna go to my models folder, and I'm gonna create a file called leaf model, just like that, leaf model. You usually try to do it like that to kind of keep it very, very modular, very object-oriented. Just don't do like dictionaries and like willy-nilly objects like that. It's better to create like models because you can manage them. And in Dart, of course, as an open source object-oriented, strongly typed language, it's pretty cool to do stuff like that. So check this out. So I'm gonna be creating a class. I'm gonna call it leaf model. And then remember what we need to keep track of on our leaf. What do we need? We need to know the index of the leaf. I'll probably do like final int index, right? I need whether it contains a bug or not, right? I can do like a Boolean. I can do like final bool contains bug, something like that. Whether the current leaf is at a breakpoint, like whether to render like those other like little flowers next to it. So I'll probably do like final bool is breakpoint, something like that. And last but not least, I need a direction. So a direction, I can do it either with a number. I could do it with a number like 0, 1, 2, 3. But the best candidate for this is actually like an enumeration. So before I even finish the leaf model, then let me do that. Let me create an enumeration that will represent the direction of the leaf. So I'm gonna call it leaf direction Dart. I mean, you do you. If when you create stuff like this, you can do it any way you want. I'm gonna create like a separate enumeration that dictates what the direction is. So I'm gonna say enum leaf direction, and then of course it's just any enum. I'll provide my value. So I'm gonna have up, down, left, and right. Those are the type of directions that a leaf can have. If you see here, I want to manage whether it's up, down, left, or right, so that then I can render it accordingly. Using that model, then I'll be able to render those leaves, right? Perfect, I have that. Now here I can come back and then add a field that then represents that direction. So I'm gonna say something like, well, I have to import it, but I'll say leaf direction, and there it is. So auto import, and I'm just gonna say direction, something like that. Of course, I'm gonna create my constructor, and I want to make them all required because I don't want anything to be missing. I want everything to be pretty well defined. So I'm just gonna do again required this.index, required this that contains bug because I want to know whether it contains a bug or not. I'll also make this required this that is breakpoint, whether it's at a breakpoint. You can take a look at that, and a required this that direction. So I have those 4 properties for now. So this is a model that I will be consolidating and encapsulating pretty much the essence of what a single leaf is. So that way now I can say, okay, now generate me all the leaves for this game randomly. So that is what I'm gonna use the leaf model for. So let me save this. So I'm good with the leaf direction. I'm good with the leaf model. I need to have a way now to pretty much kind of like generate those leaves. So how do I do that? That's then when I told you that I wanted to have something cool in the game service is actually in charge of initializing the game, and is going to initialize, for example, like those those leaves. So in my game service, then pretty much that is what I need. So the game service is gonna initialize those leaves. So I'm gonna need later on a method called like init game, right? In the init game, this is where you set the leaves, generate the leaves for the game, like the game for that, set, for example, like how many leaves, And a lot of things, a lot of the initializations of the game are going to happen in here. Set up the leaderboard, blah, 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 anything. Like set up the initial state of the position of the frog, stuff like that is going to happen here. So let me now save this. I'm going to get to this point because I really want to start building, for example, like generating like all those leaves for the game. So how do I do that? I could do it here in the game service. I can easily do it here, but I usually, my practice is creating some of these models, like repetitive things. I kind of feed it off of like factory methods and factory classes. So for that, I usually create like a utils class. I don't think I've created it so far, so let me create one. This utils class is kind of like my it's like a static class that generates things on the fly. It's kind of like, it has like a repository of factory methods, has like things that generate things for me across the application. Like for example, I'm gonna build like the configuration for the game. I'm gonna build the leaves, like the whole sequence of leaves and all of that. Let me show you how to do that. So I'm gonna create a class called utils. Simple as that, not too hard. I want to create a method here that generates all the leaves for me randomly. So depending on the difficulty of the game, I want to know whether I'm gonna generate like 200 rows or 100 rows of leaves in the game. So I'm gonna create a static method that will be a list of leaf models. So I'm gonna say leaf model, right? And then I'm gonna call it something like generate leaves, I can say, for example, generate game leaves, right? Got it, something like that. And then I can say, depending on whether, let's say the game is difficult or not, I can generate like 100 leaves or 200 leaves. It all depends on that. So I can, for example, I can inject the difficulty service. This is why I wanted to separate those services, because let's say the game service like a utils class like that can inject the service and can consume things from the service. So in here, I really want to know what the difficulty of the game is. So I'm gonna do something like this, and this is perfectly valid. Check this out. I can pass the build context to this, right? Through the build context, depending on where I am or initializing the application, I want to know what the difficulty of the game is. So I'm gonna say here, right here, I'm just gonna say difficulty service, and I'm gonna say provider.of difficulty service, and then I'm gonna say context listen false, meaning I don't want like this to this is only like a one-time fetch of the difficulty service in another place, in this particular case the utils, right? You can import services inside other services as long as you don't do like a circular dependency or something like that. So it shouldn't be something really complicated, or you're not violating any rules or anything. Let me as long as you keep things clean and not convoluted, of course. So after I inject the difficulty service, I want to know whether the service is the difficulty service, whether the current game is easy or hard. So how do you do that? So I'm gonna say, for example, like difficulty, right? And then I'll just say difficulty. Here I'll just say difficulty service dot just difficulty, like that, and then it gives me the value of the difficulty that the user has just pressed. If the user pressed easy, I'm gonna pull easy out of there, like that. Sorry, I need to spell this listen like that. And then all I'm gonna do here is, like, if the difficulty is for example, I'm gonna say if the difficulty is equals to like difficulty, for now we're just gonna keep it simple. Like if the difficulty is easy, I'm gonna say generate 100 rows, else 200 rows. We'll keep it simple for now, just so that you can see me generate stuff and you can see stuff on the screen. So after I do that, I'm gonna say, okay, so now let's create a remember, we want to generate the list of the leaves, like this. We want to know that in row 0 I have one leaf, in row 1 I have another leaf, in row 3 I have another leaf. Every row, so I'm gonna create like a list of leaves that represent each of the leaves and the direction that is gonna show in that particular screen. So see, I'm gonna start building this structure. So I'm gonna need, of course, a list of leaf models, and I'm just gonna easily call it like leaves. And see, like, it's very simple. Then at the end, all I'm gonna do is just return leaves. so that it doesn't bark. So I'm just gonna say, oh, not leave, sorry. So I'm just gonna say leaves. There you go. Sorry, I'm not spelling well correctly. So there you go. So you see, it's simple as that. So what I want to do is now populate a bunch of leaves and then return it to the application, to the UI, so that the UI is only sole responsibility is just to render widgets. None of this logic should be in your widgets. It shouldn't be in your widget, in your little components, in your little widgets. Shouldn't be there. That's why you keep all the business logic outside of that, either in services or anything that doesn't involve like rebuilding and performing all that logic in the building of your UI. So you separate all that business logic into a service or like a utility class, like I created this one. So let's keep creating the leaves. So as you see, I'm creating like all the leaves right now as a model. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna, for example, loop through all my rows, and then I'm just gonna generate leaves. I'm just gonna say very simple, you know, for var I equals 0. This is not rocket science. So I'm just saying, you know, through my rows and I++. So I know that I'm gonna, depending on the type of difficulty that the user selected, I'm gonna extract that. It is either 100 rows or 200 rows, something like that. And then what I'm gonna do is I want to then start adding leave objects into my leaf. So it's just very simple. I'm just gonna say leaves.add, and then here I'm gonna be creating a leaf model, right? So, and of course, you remember that leaf model has all the parameters. All the parameters are required. That's why I wanted to populate all of these in here. So I'm gonna be generating either 100 leaves or 200 leaves. Now let's start populating the leaf model. So the first thing that I'm gonna, so I have like an index property. So what's gonna be that index? So actually I want the index to be random, because the index that I mean is either one of these 4 positions. Like if I show the design that I have here, right here, there you go. So I want to generate a random index between 0, 1, 2, or 3. So I'm gonna have to generate a random value between 0, 1, 2, or 3, because I want them to look like this. Like I want them to look like this. Like I don't know where, I don't want to know where they will display. That's why I wanted to create like some randomness to it. So let's do that. So right up here, I think that's how I want to do it. So I want to do, for example, like I'll just say like, you know, random. I have to import it, of course. I'll say like, you know, random. I'll just call it that. Sorry, I don't have a good random leaf. What do you want to call it? Random leaf, and then I'll say like random. So I'm gonna just instantiate a random instance because I want it outside. What is it? This is the math library. There you go. See? So I'm just importing the math library. Now the index will be a random value between 0 and 4. So it's 0, 1, 2, and 3. Not inclusive. So I'm gonna say, you know, random leaf, right? And then there's this method called next integer. I need something between 0 and 4. So I'm gonna hard code the 4 here. We're gonna fix this later, but at least I just wanted to get something going. So I know that I'm just gonna generate the leaf model is gonna have an index between 0 and 4, random. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be whatever. So it's gonna be random. The direction. So what is going to be the direction? I also want the direction to be random. So if you see here, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's left, anything. So I want to randomize that value, like the direction of the leaf. I don't care how it does it. I want it to be random. That's all I want. So let me use then the same enumeration. Instead of me saying like, you know, if the value, you know, if the random, you know, if I don't want to say like if random leave, blah, blah, blah. No, I want to use the same values of the leave direction enumeration to pull the like a random values out of that, you know, collection of enumeration values. So this is how I usually do it. I say leave direction that values already gives me the array of all the enum values. So in this case, it gives me all these 4. So already when I say leave direction that values, you already get all those 4 values. So now out of those 4 values, now I want a random value between 0 and 4, not inclusive 4, only between 0, 1, 2, and 3. So here I say random, I should say random leave dot next integer. Of course, it's the same thing. But instead of being the next integer, I don't know how many values are here. So I don't want to hard code it to 4. So the way that I would do is I would say leave direction that values that length. That way I'm not hard coding. I don't care how many values are in there. It will just loop through my enum value. So it will just, as you see, so it will grab the collection of the values, which is 4. But now I'll have a random value out of all of those 4 values, right? So this is all this is doing. Perfect. So I have my direction already. I have my direction. What else do I want? I want to do whether the leaf contains like a bug or not. So it either has like an image of a little bug or it doesn't. So that we can take care of that. Very simple. Let's just do something like if the value is even or if it's odd, just show it, something like that. But it's going to be random too. So I'm going to say contains bug. So I'll say random leaf, and then I'll say next int. I'll just say, give me the next integer out of what? Oh, okay. So we could do the rows. We can say out of, give me the random next integer out of the rows. We can just say out of all the rows, give me just the random value. And if the mod 2 equals 0, meaning if any random values between 0 and 200 or 0 and 100, not inclusive the last value, is even, then you say that it contains a bug. Something like that. You can have other criteria, but that's what I'm going to be using as my criteria. And then I'm going to show whether that is showing or not, right? And then the next one, there's one more required value, which is if it's a breakpoint. Okay, got it. So there is breakpoint. Illustrates whether it's going to show a row of lilies, like the little flowers floating. And I'm going to dictate the row, like that breakpoint to be like just a multiple of the rows. For now, we can do something like this. We can say, how do we say this? We can just say, for now, let's just say if it's difficult is a multiple, is for example, like 10. And if not, is like, for example, let's do this. If the difficulty, we can just copy something like this. We'll refactor it later, but for now, let's start with something like this. So if the difference is easy, let's say, for example, like if it's, or actually, no, let's do this. So I already have like 100 or 200, right? And then I already know the rows. So let's just say something like, let's just say, so if it's a breakpoint, if the interval, okay, for example, let's do something like this. Let's say, for example, if I, like, for example, like the current iteration mod, for example, like mod 10 equals 0. So for now, we'll do something like this. Like if for example, like if the multiples are, I can say, for example, like if it's 200, then it will be, if the difficulty is easy, then it will be, I can do this. Let me actually do something like this, which is, so I already have the rows. Okay, I can do this. That's it. I'll just replace this. And then if I say rows divided by 10, I can say, for example, then I would know that it will be either 10 or it will be 20. So those will be like the breakpoints pretty much. I'll say if that breakpoint, if I'm in 100 and every 10 values in the easy level is equals to 0, meaning I do 10, 20, 30, 40, those will be the breakpoints in my row. So after I build that, I want to be able to kind of, probably just show some of this somewhere. So I definitely wanna show this somewhere. So where do we initialize this? We need to initialize this somewhere, of course. So the best place to initialize it would be, like in the game service. So the game service, we could actually do something like this. Because now that I have like all the leaves, now I need to pass the build context, and then I should be able to initialize this thing. So let's try it here in the game service. So remember the game service, the init game, I'm gonna pass the build context in there. So I'm gonna say build context, because remember that method requires it. And then here, all I'm gonna say, for example, here the game service, we can have it so that it manages the leaves. So here I'm gonna just say list leaf model. And then I'm gonna call these leaves, and then here it's just gonna initialize it like an empty array. We can start something like that. And now all I'm gonna say is leaves utils dot, I have to auto import it, and then say dot generate game leaves. You see, just something like this now initializes the leaves for me, and then I can just take care of the just generating the leaves, so I can feed it to whoever's gonna pull this information, right? Like you have this game service. The game service initializes all your entities, and then it passes it on to your widgets so that they can rebuild accordingly. Okay, so where do I want to initialize the game service, or this particular one? I need access to the context, and the only place where I can have a context where I can also access the that it would be pretty much here, like in the main method, right? And you see how at the top of the main method I'm actually injecting these providers. So I think I could probably do it. I can probably try doing it here. For example, like in the build method, in the initial, well, it has to actually be under the material app. Why? Because it needs to be inherited, and then you have to like do the initialization in there. I need this build context. Actually, the build context of the material app, not this one, because I think this would fail. If I do this, if I say game service, and then I say game service, and then I'm going to initialize it at the top of the application, game service. And then I'll say, let's try this. Provider.off, game service. So I'm going to see at the beginning of the game, at the root of the game, I am initializing the service. I'll just say context listen equals false. And then, for example, here, if I do this, game service dot init game, and then what do I pass the context? This will initialize the leaves and blah, 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 and all that stuff. So let's try this. Check this out. So why do I think that this is going to fail? Let me show you. So if of course, I need to show my terminal. I save all. Okay, it's all saved. So let me rebuild, and let's see what it does. Because at that point, I don't think all the services are injected at the root, and then that is not the actual. I mean, we can definitely take a look at it. For example, we can see whether we have access to those leaves. If I am initializing the init game in here, let's try that. So what I'm going to do is now I'll try to access the leaves from here, and then let's see if we do have access to those things. Because init game, it already passed it. So now if I go to my, to the widgets, right? Actually, no, let's go to the pages. And then I go to the game page. So in the game page, I want to generate, for example, like the leaves in here. So you see that I have the game header panel and whatnot. I want to generate the leaves in here inside kind of like a list view or something like that. So let's try to inject the game service in here. Let's check that out. So let's see if it already generates the leaves, and then I can access them from here. So that is one thing that you also need to be very mindful about. So let's do a game service. And then I'll say game service. Actually, let me do the auto import one more time. I'll say game service. And I'll say provider.off, game service. And then I'll do, of course, as always, context and listen equals false. So here is where I want to generate what I get out of the leaves. Like I already initialized it when the application launched, like initially. I'm gonna save this. So you see in the main.dart, I am initializing the game. This is where I'm going to be doing a lot of initializations. For now, I'm just initializing the leaves. So let's keep it at that. Now in my game page, I want to know whether I do have, depending on the difficulty of the game, I want to know whether it was, there's a difficulty in that. So let's try this. So if I now, this is the header panel, this is a stack. So I pretty much need like an expanded. Let me try. I can do, is this a stack? No, I don't need expanded. I can just grab just a regular, let me do a container. Got it. And then here I'll do inside of the container, then I'll do a child of list view. So I'll do a list view, let me do a list view dot builder. And then in the builder, I'll do the item builder, I'll do the item count and all of that. And then remember how that gets driven. So if I do item count, it will be whatever the amount of leaves, right? So if I say game service, and then I come over here and I say game service dot leaves. dot length. So I will know how many leaves are here. In the item builder, remember, takes a context and an index. So I am going to just return, let me try returning something so we can see some stuff in here. So I'll just say, return text leaves. Something like that. Let's try this. Let me do a rebuild. We should be able to see like a list view if I'm not mistaken. So because at least I want to see something in there. I want to make sure that the leaves that we created randomly, they get initialized at the beginning, and then when I click here, then I should be able to see some stuff. Okay, there it is. So I do see it. So see, leaves are available there. So if you see in the main.dart, it is available there in this Skipping Frog app in this build context. Why? Because the Skipping Frog app is a child of the multi-provider. Sorry about that. And then the game service and the difficulty service sit on top of that, so I can have access to that context that does have those things, and then I can generate the leaves. So you see, there's just a bunch of leaves, right? But now I don't want to just say leaves. I want to know whether the leaves are left, right, up, down. I just want to see that being generated. So let's play with that, right? So let's and of course I don't want to have all of that in the same page, right? So one of the cool things that we can do is extract this container as a separate component. Remember, a separate widget. So remember, I like to do widget rigid composition, meaning you encapsulate functionality of your widgets and then you compartmentalize it. You make little components, each component doing one thing. Remember, we did the game header panel. We're gonna do a bottom panel. But now I don't want to keep it all in the game page. I want to do this as a lily pond, for example, like the pond with the leaves. I could even add the image in there, but I'll keep the image in there. Let's just make this into another widget, and we're gonna call it, for example, lily pond, something like that. You get what I'm saying, right? So I can extract something like this and say lily pond. And it will be a widget that will represent like all the leaves and all of that, right? So of course, I will create a separate widget. I'm gonna call it lilypond.dart. And of course, I can start creating this as a stateless widget because it's gonna be simple. It's just gonna render once. It's just gonna render my leaves and I'm good to go. So let me make it as a stateless widget and I'll call it lilypond. Remember, always keep this in mind. Whenever you're building your structure, your widget layouts, make it work first. You can make it work, and then you can start extracting it as separate widgets. Or you can immediately lay out what your widgets are going to be, like the shell of the widgets, and then you build upon those internally. So let me now import the material, of course, and I will drop this piece of code in here because I'm going to expand on those lilies. Of course, I need to import the service. I don't need it here anymore. You see how cool? I don't need it here. I don't need the game service here. And then it makes your game page much cleaner. Each one of these components will be separate and is very encapsulated. We're using the single responsibility principle. Like I told you, every component is actually encapsulated and does one thing well. So in this case, my lily pond will just represent those lilies, right? Like those little leaves in the application. So let me bring this service in here, and then that's it. Let me import it. Very cool. So you see, very, very cool stuff. So I'm just gonna import my provider. So you see the lily pond is consuming the game service because it needs the leaves. That's why I added it here. And instead of saying leaves, I'm just gonna do maybe something more much cooler. So I created a container. You see that it just added the widget in there. Let's see if it actually still working after I did that refactoring. So let's just rebuild. Let's see if that lily pond widget is available now and is not breaking or anything. So let's just keep it like that. I'll click on start, and there my leaves are. Perfect. So we're good. We're so far so good. Now, instead of, this is my list view, I already know what the item count is depending on the difficulty of the game. In this case, I should be able to have 100 because the default is easy. But if I change it, I can't change the difficulty while the game is in motion. So I'm going to have to quit the game, change the difficulty, and then when I come here, I have to regenerate the game, of course. But for now, let's keep it simple. So instead of a text that says leaves, I want to return something more meaningful. So I want to create, for example, I'm going to create a list of widgets, or in this particular case, because I don't want to return the leaves themselves. I want to return widgets that represent the leaves. I can create a leaf widget. For now, let's keep it simple. I'll just say widget, and then I'll say leaf rows, for example. Let's just call it leaf rows, and then I'll instantiate it, as an array of leaf rows, and that is exactly what we're returning. We're gonna returning a bunch of rows, like a rows, right? And then what I'm gonna do is actually returning a row where the children is actually my leaf rows, right? Because I'm gonna want them as a row, so I want them in that particular way. So let's start with this. I'm gonna return my leaf rows. Now let's populate those rows. I want to know whether, like, the rows that I'm generating, the leaves. I want to know the values of the leaves. I'm gonna be pulling now the values of each of these leaves in their particular rows. So let's actually do this. So I'm gonna do a quick for var row equals 0, row is less than, of course, game service dot leaves dot length, because I want to go through all the like, for example, actually no, not the leaves. I want to know how many leaves I want across the pond. So it's going to be 4. So in this case, let's hold the value somewhere. I don't need that. I don't want that. Like, we could do the length of the difficulty enumeration, but for now I'm going to have like an integer here, and I'm going to call it like leaves across the pond equals 4, something like that. Yes, my service returns a list. For now, it just returns a bunch of leaves. Because remember, like, I'm building them ahead of time. Then I'm just returning that for now. For now, the game service is just returning that. Just for now. So this is what I want to do. So the game service, I'm going to access a bunch of things from there. For now, is only returning the leaves. So in this case, I want to do game service dot leaves across the pond, because I want 4 items in that row. But good point, Sirhan. If you find anything that I'm missing, please let me know, please. I do appreciate your feedback. And then I'm just gonna do R++, because I just want to say I want 4 leaves across the pond like that, and I want to know which one is like up or down. And then I want to know in this leaf rows widget, I want to return then the index of the widget, meaning, okay, which is the index, the random index. Is it 0, 1, 2, or 3 in that row? Or now and then is the leaf up, down, left, or right? Those are the things that I want to know in this loop right here. So let's start playing with this. So I'm going to say leaf rows that add, and let's do something simple. For example, let's add rows, the rows. For example, check this out. We can say something like, we can say, for example, like, if the game, let's do this. A game service. Let's say if the game service leaves, right? If the index, because remember, I'm looping through this index. I want to loop through the current iteration of the rows, right? So in the index, let's say, for example, if the index equals, yeah, okay, there you go. So the current iteration. So show me what the current index of the leaves is, right? What is the current index? So if the index is that, I want to show the for example, like I want to show either like an empty space or the actual leaf. So I'm gonna say if the index is, I want to pull the correct index in every iteration, or I can just immediately, because I want to know I want to show either an empty space, or I want to show like like an empty box. So let me formulate the idea so that you guys can see it. So I'll say loop through all the leaves, right? Loop through all the leaves, and then if you say if the index equals to the current iteration in this loop, so then show me the name of that leaf. So I'm gonna say in a text widget. So I'm gonna say game service dot leaves, and then I'll say index, and then out of that I'm just gonna say direction dot name. So let's just print the name of the leaf. Else It's not R. I'm sorry, it's just R. So because I usually do R. Else I'm just gonna say, text, nothing. What am I saying here? If the index of this loop right here, if the index of the loop of this loop, I'm sorry, I'm saying index, but I should be saying, for example, like I want this index. I'm sorry. That's what I want. So I want the index of the current row. Like, what is the random index of my row? Is it in the particular row of leaves? Does it match the either 0, 1, 2, or 3, 4? Show me the name of that row, because then I want to use that value to then display the correct image. So now if I save it all, and then let's just see what it looks like. Remember, I'm just adding a bunch of widgets. If you notice here, I'm just adding a bunch of widgets, like a text or none, for example. I want to know what the rows will look like eventually. And then I return it, and then I'll see rows. So if I just hit R, let's see what they would look like. There it is. You see, I need maybe some spacing around that so that you guys can see it. So I'm just going to do main axis alignment, main axis alignment, that space around. I want like some spacing around it. That way you can see the values of the row. So if I reload it, if you see, for example, now I can see there's a bunch of none, but there's up, and then the other ones are none. So you see, I am actually pulling out of the current leaf row, or that leaf. I want to know that random index between 0 and 4. If I have one, just show me the value of that, of the random value, the random index of that row. And you see here, then if not, I'm just going to show the word none. So that's what I want. It's either none or the value. In this case, like down. You see that particular row? Very cool. You see, I kind of don't want, for example, like and then those will be like all my values, right? So instead of now showing text, I'm actually going to be showing some images. So that's what I want, right? But I don't want like, I want the row. I want the row to start like somewhere here. You see? So I'm gonna have to add some like padding around it. So let me fix that real quick. And by the way, I don't need a container here. I can just do, for example, like a center, and then that way it's more efficient. And then that way I'll just center it. So check this out. So in the list view builder, I want to add like some padding at the bottom. So I'm gonna say padding, const edge insets that only. My intelligence is a little bit slow today. Only, and then I'm gonna add like what do you do? Bottom, like let's do like 150 pixels. And then now if I save and reload, I want like some bottom padding in there so that it shows a little. So is it reloading? Let me see. Let me do reload. I want some padding in the bottom of the page there it is. See, that's what I want. I want it to start there. But is 150 okay? I'll decrease it a little more. 100. Let's do like 100. I'll do 100. And then now I'll just do R, and then now it will still be the same, but you see now it's a little, because I want it to look like under. Actually, yeah, they're not under you see, they're not under the panel. I want them to look under the panel. So let me do that. So I'm just going to move the lily pond right under the panels, because I want them to be like right up here, right? And then it will look like much cooler, like under the panel. So if I reload it, I should be able to see the list of like the leaf words like under the panel. There it is. That's what I want. Now it's time for me to start like replacing then those words for the actual images, right? So if you notice the leaf direction, which is what I'm gonna be using for that, I have up, down, left, and right, and I think I named my images just like that as well. So I'm gonna go to my images. I hope I did name them like that. There it is. See, leaf, down, left, right, and up. So I'm gonna be using that same name to actually pull the corresponding image of the leaf so that then I can display the correct one based on the random value that I'm showing in there. So I'm going to go to let me go to I think I can go to the lily pond, right? So I'm saying here, loop through all the how many leaves you're gonna have across the pond, which I already made it into. I like this change. I made this like a kind of like a constant type of value, but it's, it can be changed. But at least we can take care of that later. But for now, let's keep it like this. So and then I generate the leaves initially. Perfect. Let's go back to the game page. No, I'm sorry, the lily pond. I'm ready now to replace those words by the actual images. So how do I load that? So I'm gonna say, if this is equals to that, I'm gonna load an image that looks like the leaf corresponding to that name. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do, of course, as always, image.asset. And then my assets, remember, is in, I believe it's in assets, images, and then check this out. So I'm gonna say leaf underscore, and I'm gonna be using this guy right here. So I'm gonna remember my images are called leaf up, down, left, or right. Leaf down, up, left, or right. And those are exactly the same names of my enumeration. So that's exactly what I'm gonna be doing, like an interpolation in here of the value. I'll probably do it like this and then just replace it right there. Oh, sorry. I need just this value. So now you see, I'm going to be referring to the images as leaf up, leaf down, leaf left, leaf right, blah, 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 like that. I don't forget of course, I need the .png because it's that image. And then I just need to refer to those like that. Perfect. So, and then else, I don't need this anymore, of course. And then I can just say else, and then if it's else, then I'm gonna do like an empty box. So I'll do like a sized box, like just empty, a size box. So let me do like a const size box, something like that. Let's see what this does. I could do a spacer. I could do, let me reload it. Let's see what it does. Sweet. There you go, guys. I just did it like the first shot. That was pretty cool. And then I have the leaves right there. Awesome. Okay, so you see, now I'm able to have like all my leaves in there. That's pretty cool. I'm not, if I can see correctly, like there's like, what am I doing here? Space around. Yeah, I think I want maybe the width of these images are a little too big. I kind of want to keep, let's fix that. Let's fix the images, the size of those images. I can create something like the dimension based on the width of the screen, something like that. So I can do something like, I can use like a media query for that. Like just what is going to be the size of the leaves, for example. Let's try that. So I'm going to say like double leaf dimension. And then based on the width of the screen, because I want to support both Android and iOS, I want to do, for example, like media query .of context. And then based on the size of the width of the screen, I want to do, and remember, because it's 4 images across the screen, I want to divide the space like in 4. So I'll probably do like size.width, right? You do size.width to get the size of the screen using the media query. But then now I want to like a percentage of the width of the screen. I could do like 20% of the screen. I could do like 20, like that. And then I'm gonna use this then dimension as the width of my leaves. That way I know that my images are more proportional to the width of the screen. I can try something like that. I mean, you could do something, whatever you think, whatever you deem more appropriate. I'm gonna go with this because, again, remember, I'm gonna be supporting Android and iOS only on the portrait mode, and then here I can just say width and height, leave dimension, something like that. Now if I reload, I should see that looks more like it. I kind of like this a lot more. The images look a little better, and I like the fact that it's showing like the leaves, like they're properly, the width is a little better. That's all I can say. Oh, I can use actually the same empty for this one. I can do this. I can say, width and height for the dimension of those, because I would want to create like the same spacing across. So I definitely want like the same type of spacing. So I'm gonna use leaf dimension as well for that. So I'm gonna say leaf dimension and height. Height, leaf dimension. So you see that I want like dimension, but it's not going to be a constant. It's just going to be like that. So you see, it's either going to be the width of the image or a space. but it's gonna be proportional to the width of the screen, and then I'm able now to, there you go. That's exactly what I want. Now you see that the leaves are actually showing randomly, and if I scroll it all the way here, you will see them regenerating multiple times. So if I scroll, one thing that I'm struggling with, you see, like I have to scroll all the way to the bottom so you guys can see the bottom here. So if I reload it one more time, you'll see all this regenerating. That's exactly what I want. Every time I reload, it regenerates the leaves, which is pretty cool. So, but you know what I want? I don't want people to start scrolling from the top, which is the normal way for you to scroll in a scroll viewer. No, I want them to start scrolling from the bottom. So is anybody guessing what I'm gonna do? Anybody guessing what I'm gonna do? Of course, I'm gonna reverse the list. I'm gonna reverse the list. And the cool thing about it, there is a reverse equals true property in the list view builder. And then now check this out. If I reload it, now I know that I'm gonna start from the bottom. You see now when of course, it reversed it. I need to go all the way to the bottom, of course, but this is the beginning now. The beginning is actually the bottom of the screen. So if I reload it, let me just scroll all the way. There it is. You see, that is the bottom of the screen. That is how I want it to scroll. Now, if I just reload like the whole application now, you will see now my leaves like showing randomly the multiple rows depending on the difficulty, and then I can show some of that. Now, if I click on start, you see I'm at the bottom. That's exactly what I want. I think that may be okay. Like it's covering it a little. I don't want that to be covered, but that's okay. We could leave it like that for now. What else do we have? So after that, okay, so I want to also determine, what do I want to determine? I want to determine whether the row is actually at a breakpoint. So if remember, it's multiples of the amount of rows that you have. If you have 100, it's multiples of 10. If you have 200, it's multiples of 20. I think that's what I did it, right? So then now if I do this, now I want to say, okay, so if the show the image, if this is the corresponding random index, else I'm gonna say then if this particular leaf, for example, I'll just say, I could actually, what would you want me to do? I can do this. I can extract the current leaf in here so that we can actually keep it more. See, I'll say leaf model, and then I'll say leaf model equals this, so I don't have to like do this whole index thing all the time. So let me just extract the corresponding leaf, right? The leaf model. So that's what I'm doing. So there you go, perfect. And then instead of doing this, I'll just say leaf model, which is much cleaner to read, not like so convoluted up there. Same thing in here, I'll just say leaf model. I'm refactoring as I'm speaking, so you guys just hang in there and just watch it, because I'm just like cranking in here, right? And then check this out. So now I'm gonna say, if I am at a breakpoint, remember, if I'm at a breakpoint, I want to show those images. That's what I want to show. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to say, if I am at a breakpoint, that's exactly what I'm going to say. I'm say if leaf model is breakpoint, very simple. I already populated all of those. If it's that, very simple. All I'm going to do is just show that image. So if I'm at a breakpoint, I'm going to show the image of the lily. Very simple. Else is just going to show an empty space. I could probably say like, and make sure that you're not at row 0 and the last row. But for now, let's keep it like this. So instead of just the leaf, I'm just gonna show the lilies for the breakpoints. I think I already just call it lily. Let me see the image one more time. So the image is gonna be called lily. There it is, lily, there it is. And then all I'm gonna say, if I'm at a breakpoint, just display the lily, else just display a regular space. So check it out. And there it is. Wow, so simple. You see, now I'm able to see the image right there. Oh, I see that this is not like lining up. I kind of want to do probably like the image. What do we want to do with this? Do we want to like bring it down, or is this okay? Well, it all depends, because for example, right now we have the leaf and then we have the lilies right there, and you see that we're showing the lilies at different breakpoints, which is okay. We can keep it like this for now, but at least we're definitely making really good progress. Now I'm able to show all the lilies, I'm able to show all the leaves based on the difficulty. And for example, check this out. If I don't, well, the game is gonna be initialized, but it's gonna, if somebody attempts to do this and then go to the options and change it to hard, if I come back to the game, I should actually be generating the leaves then here. But I wanna make it so that people don't, or I can just reinitialize the game at that point. I can do that. And then based on the difficulty, I'll generate as many rows, and then I can do that randomly. So that is exactly what I'm gonna be doing. So let me save that. And I think I'm good with this for now. We wanna continue, for example, like moving forward. So if I have something like this, right? I think I may feel more comfortable with a little bit more under there. So let's do like 100 and let's do 100. What did I say before? 60? I want like more padding. I kind of don't like that. It's cutting it off. So I do see, and there it is. So now it looks much better. But remember, we don't want people to be doing this. We're gonna have to cover this somehow with something so that it keeps us from doing the swiping on the list row. We don't want that, right? Cool. That's it. So now at least we're able to have, we already created the lily pond, we already created the service, we created the models and all of that. Perfect. All good. That's all good. Now what do I want to do? Do you guys wanna start creating, for example, like the swiping events? We could do that. We can do the gestures, which is pretty cool. And then the gestures, what that will entail is actually me interpreting gestures created by the user as they swipe on the screen. We don't want them to swipe on the list view, because it's gonna do this. We want them to have like a region where they perform the swipes and they don't do, they don't alter like the scroll view behind. We're gonna disable the we can disable, for example, like the core animations, but we want to animate that programmatically. But we will do that later. Perfect. So now let me do, for example, let me now establish like a region where they're gonna do like the swiping, for example, because I wanna create those things like more encapsulated. I wanna create those things more like each one its own thing. And in this particular case, I want to create something that I wanna call it like the let's call it like a swipe panel, something like that. So let's try something like this. Check this out. So of course it has to be something like on top of everything. And the lily pond, again, like I said, I can disable the animations, or like the swiping or the touching events. I'll definitely do that. But instead I want something more like that sits on top of everything, even on top of this probably, but of course covering it. But I want something, for example, like this. Check this out. I want like a container, and then this container, let me do like a color so I can show you my my idea. So I'm gonna say colors.red with opacity 0.5, for example. I don't want like one whole thing like covering the whole page. I don't want something like this. I want something that only covers the area where the list view is, right? So I'll probably do like I add margins, for example. I'll do like edge insets that only, and then let's do like top. What are we using for top and bottom? Let's do like 150, 160. I think that's what I'm using for also the padding that I added on the list view. That's what the padding that I added on the list view. So if I reload, I should be able to see then. There you go. See, that is the area that I want to scroll. You see this? I'm trying to like scroll in here. I can't. That's perfect. I don't want it. I can't scroll in here. I can't scroll in here because I'm covering it. So I'm gonna use that region for my scrolling effects, for my scrolling events. And of course, I don't want it. I don't want to do it all in the game page. Just like I told you before, you want to create like a separate widget, and you want to extract this as a separate widget that handles all of that. What are we gonna call it? I'm gonna call it something like I'm gonna extract it and say like swiping or something like, okay, let's call it like swiping panel, swiping panel, or something like swiping panel region. Let's call it like that because it's a region, which is a panel where you're going to be performing the, your swiping. And of course, I'm going to create, just like always, one widget, and I'm going to call it swiping panel region dart. How do we want to create this? We can create it as a stateful widget, as a stateless widget. What do you want to do? Let's do it as a stateless widget initially. So I'm going to say stateless widget, and I'm going to call it, what did I call it? Swiping panel region. That's what I called it. Let me just import the materials and whatnot. And of course, import my guy, my newly created widget. Something like that, right? Perfect. And then now, of course, I'm just going to go back to my swiping region and I'm going to drop this guy. So this is what I have. There it is. I'm going to go back over. I create my widget. I'm calling it swiping panel region. I'll swipe. I'll save. And then everything should be working exactly as before. But now, and then that's where now I'm going to interpret like swiping events. And swiping events in Flutter is like super easy to do. Let me show you. It's so easy. So now I have my swiping panel region. Let's just make it as a constant because this is just going to be like interpreting swiping events. But there's going to be something cool that I'm going to be doing later that I had in mind. How do you make those how do you promote inter widget communication? Let me show you. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, of course, you already guessed it. I am going to just wrap this into a widget, the gesture detector. Is so easy. Gesture detector. It's just a gesture detector. The gesture detector has a bunch of really cool events. It has like on double tap. You use it to create like your custom buttons. Horizontal dragging. You can do that. Like you can do horizontal dragging. You can do on pan, on tap up, on tap down, on vertical drag, on pan start, on pan down, blah, blah, blah. What I want is when the user swipes vertically or horizontally, then I want it to trigger an event. So, right? So I'm going to say on vertical drag, for example, I could do on vertical drag start. For example, like if you start, actually, no, it's not start. I want it when it ends. So when I swipe and I finish, then I want to trigger an event. So it's not drag. Sorry about that. So let me do, I could say on vertical drag end, right? And then I want it also on the horizontal. On horizontal drag end. I think this is what it's called. Yeah. Oh yeah, they do take something called drag details. Drag details. What is it called? Drag end details. Yeah, of course, because it's the drag end. And then I'll just call it details, right? And then here I'm gonna know whether I swiped up or down. I've seen people online that have used something called like a dismissible widget. You can use a dismissible widget, much power to you. No, not drown, sorry. On horizontal, what does this one take? Drag and details. Sorry, I copied it. I've seen one widget called the dismissible widget. The dismissible, I think it's called like this, dismissible widget. Dismissible. And then this one has like some events, like you see that it has like on the direction. You can do that. Like on the direction could be horizontal or vertical. You could use this. This is pretty good, but I kind of want to like a little bit more control, and using the gesture detector, you can do a lot more because it's more fine-grained. So in this case, let's just print the direction in which we're swiping, for example, right? If I'm swiping up, I want to print up. If I'm swiping down, I want to print down. Let's try that. So the details has like, let's just print it. So if I say, for example, here we want to do up and we want to do down because we want to do vertical, up or down. So I think the details have something like, I'll say just like if details dot, I think it's, primary velocity. Primary velocity is what gives you then, if it's less than 0, then it's up. And if it's greater than 0, it's down. It's kind of like on the y-axis. When it's greater, it's like lower. And then when it's less than 0, it's like going up. So is that the direction? So you do primary velocity. If the primary velocity is less than 0, we want to say, for example, print up like that. Right? Right. else if, because you do have other, for example, like other, you can say, else if, I'll just copy this, of course. And then I'll just say else if the primary velocity is greater than 0. Oh, wait. Oh, this is primary velocity is actually a nullable. So I need to do my magic, bang symbol. And then here, when it's greater than 0, then it should be down like that. I have this thing, but I should move it up. So I'll just say, and if it's down, then you do something like that. Cool. Okay. So I have my gesture detector. I have my container, that container surrounded by a gesture detector. And then all the swipes is that container that is going to interpret, nothing else. Because the events will bubble up from that thing. So now let me save that. I'll just copy paste this because the primary velocity is also available in the horizontal drag. But then the values are just, they're represented now on the horizontal axis, right? On the horizontal axis. When it's less than 0 is left, when it's greater than 0 is right. It's like on the x-axis. Less than 0 is left, greater than 0 is right. So if I say less than 0 left, I'm not going to say up, I'll say left. And if the primary velocity is greater than 0, that means it's on the right-hand side. So I'm just going to say right. Let's just see if this... I should be able to print them out, right? I should be able to print these out. So let me just now, I'm doing that gesture detector right there. So let me just do this. See, gesture detector, I have on vertical drag end. That means when I'm done swiping, I'm going to trigger that event. Keep an eye on the terminal because I'm going to now reload. And now I'm gonna start like doing swiping with my mouse, and then I'll see whether I'm doing the right swiping, right? So if I go to start, now let's take a look. Let's see if this works. If I up, so it's not doing anything. Oh, there it is. Sorry, I think I was not doing it correctly. So down, up. Oh, I did it opposite. Left. Is this mouse working? Well, it did interpret something. I need to make sure that then I'm doing this. Am I actually covering it? You see, I'm doing up, down. Oh, up. There it is. Right. Oh, there it is. Left. There it is. Okay, why is it? Is this Frog Hero? Mando. Frog Hero. This is a game that I'm calling a skipping frog. Not Frog Hero. I never heard of that one. But that's a good name. That's a cool name. Let's try it again. I think it was working. So let me just reload it one more time. And then let me see if the swiping should have been interpreted. I was doing swiping. For example, check this out. So I'm doing up. Oh, there it is. Down. It's just that my mouse, I think, is not like... Is it up, right, like that? So it's kind of like, I don't know why it's not like... I want to be able to like swipe. It's just like, I don't know why it's not picking it up. Okay, so let's try. So I'm saying, give me the okay. So, and I'm adding, I added margin, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's try if I do up. Why do I see like a delay? Well, for some reason, oh, I think it was because of the, but I saw it like doing the, is it my mouse? Why is it, let me do it with this then. Yeah, for some reason, like it's not like picking up. I thought it was like it was gonna come out at least in my debugging, but in the terminal at least let me do this. So I'm doing on vertical drag end because I want to say on vertical drag end, and then I'm passing the details. I'm checking whether the primary velocity is greater than 0, then it's down. The same thing for the horizontal drag end, and then I'm wrapping my whole gesture detector on. I'm wrapping this container as the like that. So I just wanted to make sure that at least I have this. Let me save it all, and then let me try it again. So if I'm swiping, I saw them come out. Oh, there it is, down. This is like a little bit of a delay for me, but at least I know that I'm interpreting the swipes correctly. Perfect. So let me now, instead of that, what I want to do. What do I want to do here? I want to be able to broadcast. Yeah, I want to be able to broadcast my swipes to other widgets that are really interested in knowing that I'm swiping. Which is that particular widget? Well, is my, the one that contains the lily pond, the one with the rose. and then like, oh, there it is. See, now I'm swiping and now it's doing it correctly. So I'm doing down, blah, 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 all of that. Perfect. So I think it's doing it correctly now. I just wanted to make sure that I have the values here like showing correctly. Like up is less than 0, and then my gesture detector, that says, so it's doing a vertical drag in. That is one event that I'm capturing, and then the horizontal drag in is my other event. Now I want to, in my particular case, in my game, I want to know that people are swiping left or right, up and down. I don't want to just print it. I want to broadcast it. So in this particular case, I want actually something that represents the swiping direction. So let me create like an enum, just like I always do. I create like all these entities. I create them as models and enums so I can refer to them programmatically. I just don't want stuff like crazy stuff like, oh, just made up a value with just a variable. Now I want to create like models and enums and whatnot. So in this one, I'm going to call it, let's call it just like that, swipe direction. Swipe direction.dart, and of course it's going to be an enum. And I'm going to call it just like that, swipe direction. And of course it's going to have multiple values. It's going to have none, like no direction, or just like the other one, left, right, up, and down, right? Very simple. I could use, I could use any other methods, but this is pretty simple because you can now truly capturing the essence of what you're building, and you're creating entities that represent those things. Actions, models, all the entities in your game should have, or your application should be able to have like something to represent them. In this case, the direction is represented by an enum with, and it makes it actually testable, really testable. So that's what I want to do. Now, how do I want from here? How do I broadcast that I'm actually swiping left or right? Right here, remember, I'm just printing it locally, but I don't want to print it locally. I want somebody to know that I'm actually triggering this. So how do you know that? How do you broadcast that? Well, you create a service. You create a service with a change notifier that broadcasts those changes. So yes, you guessed it, there is going to be another service, and I'm going to call this service just like I call any other services. I'm going to call it swipe. What are we doing? Swiping, right? I'm going to call it swiping gesture service.dart. Sorry about that. And I'm going to create it just as a regular class. Swiping gesture service. And remember, when I swipe, I want the lily pond to rebuild. You see, it's not this one that is going to rebuild. I want to notify whoever's listening to the broadcasting of the swiping event to respond to those values. That's why I want to make it as a change notifier. And then, of course, you guessed it, my swiping gesture service is going to capture the direction. So I'm going to, every time I swipe, I'm going to tell the service, hey, service, look, here's the swiping direction, broadcaster, whoever is listening, then let them know to rebuild. So I'm going to, of course, I'm going to store my swipe direction, and I'm going to call it just like that, direction. And I'm going to set it like as a default value. So I'm going to say the default value that I set, I think I call it swipe direction dot none. No, not down, like none. Like I don't want any direction. And of course, as you see me before, I usually create like a setter for this direction. And of course, a way to notify whoever's listening to this service. So I'm just going to say something simple. I'm just going to say set swiping. Do we want to call it like that? I usually call it like set swiping direction, but I'm gonna call it something more. I'm gonna call it something more like on swipe, which is much better. And then I can pass the swipe direction. I store my direction, and then I notify the listeners. So in this case now, I'm going to grab this service. I'm gonna notify every time I swipe. I broadcast the swiping direction. And whoever's listening, in my case, the lily pond will be listening, then he's gonna say, oh, you wanna swipe up? Okay, let me move this thing up. Let me swipe up for you, or let me perform an animation. So let's do that. So remember, I created another service, and as you know, you add your services at the top, right here where I have the multi-provider. So I'm just gonna add just another one of these services that will be broadcasting the changes from the top. And then in this case, I'm just calling it what? Swiping what do you call it? Swiping gesture service, there it is. And I did autocomplete. So my swiping gesture service is gonna sit at the top. When the swiping region, the swiping panel region swipes, broadcast the message, then the lily pond is gonna be listening to it. And then as it listens, then it's gonna perform, it's gonna listen and then it's going to rebuild, right? Pretty much. So that is exactly what we want to do. So we want to store the direction. We want the lily pond to listen, and then we want we want it to listen to that value. We want to listen to the swiping service and kind of capture that essence, pretty much, right? Let's try that. So let's do just that. So now that I have my swiping service, let's go back to that widget that is going to then which one is it? The swiping panel region. Instead of me printing these values up here, I'm not gonna print these values. What I really want to do is actually when I swipe on those, when I swipe on that region, I actually wanted to tell me, okay, this is then the thing that I want to broadcast. I want to know whether it's up or down. So it's super simple. So I'm going to inject my service. I'm going to say swiping, what did I call it? Swiping gesture service, provider.off, swiping gesture service, and I'm going to say listen equals false, because I'm only going to be consuming it initially, right? I'm just going to listen. I inject my provider, which is all good. And then remember, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to broadcast the swiping. If it's up, all I'm going to say is this. Swiping gesture service on swipe, and what am I going to pass? That direction. If it's up, I'm going to say swiping direction, and I hope it doesn't autocomplete. Did I call it swiping direction or swipe direction? See, I think I call it swipe direction. Swipe direction. Sorry about that. Swipe direction. Let me do this so that it does the autocomplete. Swipe direction dot up. You see, I'm broadcasting it from here through a service. So a service gets injected. Through the service, I notify whoever's listening. And then all I need to do is just grab here and copy paste these guys. If I swiped up, if I swiped down, and then of course in this here, as I'm just going to say, if I swipe left and if I swipe right, I am just broadcasting those guys. Left and then right. Simple as that. That's it. Now when I swipe, I'm going to bubble it up the chain. The change notifier is going to capture that. Now I need somebody to listen, because now I have a way to broadcast it. But now I need somebody to listen to those values. So now let's go to the other end. Who do we want to listen? Who do we want to listen to those swiping? We want the lily pond to listen to those changes. So in my lily pond right here, I definitely want to perform like an animation on that. Let's first print it out, because at least we need to show it. We don't know yet. Now we know, we want to swipe it, but now we want to, let's say, okay, are you capturing the swiping? Are you capturing the swiping? Print it out for me. Let me see, if it's working. I want only this widget to rebuild. So we have the game service right here. So now we need to inject the swiping service, right? So I'll do swiping gesture service, provider.off, game, not game, swiping gesture service, right? And then I'll do context, listen equals false. Let me see. Do I want, yes, I want it to respond. So I definitely want, I think I do want the swiping gesture, like the lily pond, I'm sorry, to actually kind of like interpret those, like those changes. We can definitely do that, because I definitely want the animation. Yeah. So the animation. Wait, the animation. Let me do a quick test first. I definitely want the controller to animate, like the scrolling. Let me try something real quick, guys. Before I go any further, I want to do like a I want to know whether I'm gonna be able to do the animation on the on the swiping. How am I gonna accomplish like the list like animating? Let's do something really quick. I definitely want the lily pond to have like an animator, like a way to animate. Let me do something real quick. So this is a stateless widget. I want to do it like as a stateful widget because I want to perform like some initializations and some stuff. So let me, instead of a stateless widget, I'm gonna make it as a stateful widget. And I'll tell you why. Why? Because I definitely want to do some cleanup. I want to do some initialization, and I want some things only to be initialized once. So in my lily pond, which is the one that contains the list view that is showing like all the leaves, I want a controller that will control the animation on the lily on the list view. So in my state, I want to do this in the state of this stateful widget. So I want to add a final, let's call it, controller equals scroll. I think it's called what is it called? Scroll controller. This is a scroll controller that list views use to, like, if you want to manage the animations in your control in the list view. You want to control the animation, you want to control it yourself, you can do a controller. Let's just call it a better name. So I'm just gonna say lily pond scroll, what do you want to call it? Lily pond scroll controller. Something more meaningful, something like that. Now let's see if I can perform that animation on the thing. So let's fake it for now. I want to do like a little timer. So let's do like a quick timer. I'll do like a late timer. Let's do lily timer. Bear with me. It's just I want to test whether I'm able to perform the animation, and then as the animation, I'm gonna do it in a timer. And then what I want to do is, like, at a timer, every like 1 second, I want to perform a scrolling. I want to see how I'm gonna do that before I even tackle it. So I want to do I'm gonna override the void init state. That is the reason why I created it as a stateful widget, because I want to initialize some of those things. I want to initialize like a timer. I don't want it to happen at every rebuild, and I want that timer to control the controller. That lily pond controller. So how am I gonna do it? I'm gonna keep it really simple. I'm just gonna do like a timer. So check this out. So I'm gonna say lily timer, and I'm gonna just say timer. Have you guys used this? The periodic. Periodic is just like the documentation says. It's just a callback. It creates a repeating timer. You have to give it a duration, and then it gives you the timer that then you can cancel. But in this case, I'm gonna keep it infinite. So I'm gonna say const duration. And I'm gonna give it like a value, let's say like seconds, 2 seconds. So every 2 seconds, it's gonna trigger this callback right here. So every 2 seconds is gonna trigger the callback. And then the callback inside, I want to perform the scrolling on my list view. So let's do that. So check this out. Every 2 seconds, it's just gonna loop, it's gonna trigger, and it's just gonna do the animation. Check this out. I'm gonna grab my controller. And all I want is just to scroll like a specific, I wanted to scroll like a specific height. So let's try, for example, like 400. Check this out. Lily pond scroll controller. There's a value in the controller that you say animate to, meaning I want to give it an offset. An offset would be, for example, like, let's say I want an offset and I want it to increment. So I definitely need like a count. So let's start at 0, and then we increment the value. So every time I perform like the offset will be like a value over time, right? And then I want it to increment. So I say, for example, 400 times count, something like that, right? And then I say I want it to go like every 400 pixels, I want it to go up, right? And then the duration I want, for example, like, const duration, and let's do it like kind of quick. I'll do like in milliseconds, and I'll do like 800 milliseconds. Bear with me, because I'm gonna make, this is a double. Okay, this has to be a double, so I can just say, Oh, I cannot make it an int, so I'll just say double. That's it. Check this out. That's it. I just fixed it. And then the curve, I'll just do something like curves dot ease in and out. I kind of like that ease in and out. I could do that one. So check this out. If I reload this, what this is gonna do is every 2 seconds is going to perform a scrolling on my list view, for example. Let's try this. Check this out. So if the lily pond state, yeah, I need to rebuild it because I created a bunch of changes in here. So now let's see if every 2 seconds I'm able to perform a swipe, right? On its own is gonna do it. So let's hit start. Oh, there it is. So it says fail ascension, position is not empty. Let me see. I think it gives me that. Give me 1 second. Let me see the error that I was getting. See that? So I told you, like I definitely needed, to test it prior to me, coming up with this. So it's saying exception. Positions is not empty. Scroll not attached. Oh, of course. I haven't added it to the list view. Sorry about that, guys. So in the list view builder, I have to say controller list view. Lily pond, whatever I called it. There you go. So now let me save, let me reload, and now we should be able to see the animation. Every 2 seconds is supposed to increase. Or let me just rebuild because is a timer in its state, so I initialized it. Every 2 seconds is supposed to, of course I need to increment the count, sorry about that. So if I say count plus, now I should be able to move. Sirhan, we need to set controller field to list view. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what I needed. Yeah, thank you for that reminder. So now let's try. So every 2 seconds is supposed to perform like a scrolling. Let me see. So I increase the count on the init. I perform the animate too, and then I do that every 2 seconds. So let me do a rebuild. Let me save it all. Let me do a rebuild on the whole thing. I should be able to. Again, it animates to 400 times the count, meaning I'm going to increment the count and I'm going to continue like doing that. And then the lily pond controller, because it's there, it should be able to do it. So let's try this. There it is. Awesome. There it is. You see, every 2 seconds, it just goes like by 400 pixels. Of course, that's not what we want. We want it to go only the height of the leaf. But I kind of need that value somewhere. So which value do we want? We actually want the actual value of the leaf. Oh, I see which one I can use. Well, I know which one I can use. I think we have to use the game service, because the game service, remember, has the height of the leaves that we used. So right now we have it as a timer, of course. We have it in a timer, but I don't want to have like a 400 hard-coded in here. I actually want the game service. So actually, let me move the game service up here. Let me do this. Let me add it here. In the init state, you can do that, right? Of course, in the init state, I'm missing something. Of course, it's just that I started like doing it right away. But I need to. Of course, I need to stop this. Otherwise, I'm going to, blow up the memory. If you see this, if you keep it, it's gonna blow up the memory, because you're not cleaning up. That is one of the things that you need to do. So I'm going to move my game service. I'm actually gonna create an instance of the game service and initialize it up here. So I'm gonna add you see, I think I didn't clean it appropriately. Yeah, I need to see it's doing that because I didn't clean up the resources. Guys, you always need to make sure to clean up after yourselves. Make sure that you always clean up the resources that you're using, specifically with stuff that deals with like memory consumption. So I need a game. I said I need a late game service, and I'm going to initialize it up here. Remember, I need super.init state. I forgot that piece right there. And of course, I'll just initialize my service in here. How you can do this in the init state, but I don't see the context being injected. Well, the context is available in the init state, believe it or not. But it's injected initially there, but then the build context is the one that kind of carries forward with it. So check this out. I have the game service. Why did I inject the game service here? Because I want to get the game service what was it? Oh, I thought I had like the size of the leaves in here. No, I'm going to add something called leaf dimension. I thought I added it here. I don't think I added it here yet. I'm going to move that calculation that I did in the lily pond, right? Where was it? When I was building, yeah, this one right here. So you see this leaf dimension? I don't want to do it here. I want to do it in the game service because I want to keep that value more global. So in this case, instead of, I'll just say, sorry, let me undo. And then this value, I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to do it, I'm going to call it leaf dimension, but I'll show you why. Because I don't want to do this here. I want to do this in the game service, that leaf dimension. I'll use the context. I'll use the context injected in that service, in the game service. Actually, let me go to that particular guy, and I will populate this values. I definitely want something called double leaf dimension. And for example, like, we just keep it like that. But then here I want to set this guy right here, like the leaf dimension. So I'll say leaf dimension. I want to do it here as opposed to do it in the widget, so that now other widgets have access to that value. So let's try that. So you see, now I can say leaf dimension. Now it's not hard coded, it's pretty cool. And then I can use that here, and everything continues working exactly the same way. So you see, I'm refactoring as I'm making changes where I deem fit. Now you will see should we do this maybe a little smaller, a little quicker? Let's try it again. So let me rebuild the application. Remember, you need to clean up after yourself. If you have controllers and whatnot, you definitely want to do that. For example, like this timer, I definitely want to say, in the override of the void dispose, you need to dispose of those things. Like, for example, you say, of course, you do all your dispose, and then you say super.dispose. So what are the things that I want to clean up? The timer, of course, Lily timer.cancel. And of course, I want to, this controller. Let me see if I think I can do it here. I can say Lily Pond controller dot dispose. There you go. So it's the best, this is the best way that you can clean up after yourself. So now I'll do again a Flutter run. Let's try it one more time. We're gonna wrap up a few things, and then we're gonna call it a day. I think we've actually accomplished a lot. We definitely made a lot of progress in our game, and you've seen that I've implemented a bunch of state management. We're gonna now finalize inter-widget communication. Two widgets, how they communicate with each other, and then one receives the notifications of the other. Like when you swipe, we're gonna receive those notifications on the other side. For now, all we wanna do is we wanna make sure that at least the animation is correct. Like by the actual height of each leaf, we wanted to perform the animation. So let's see how, when this wraps up. Let me make sure that this is, what is it doing? This scroll controller. Oh, it was old stuff. Sorry about that. I can see. Okay. Oh, it's still building. Sorry about that. So it says running Xcode build, so it's still building. That was the old stuff. So let's try that. Otherwise, failed assertion. That was the old stuff. Yeah. So let's wait until it finishes building. So let me actually kill it one more time. I'll clear so that I don't see that. Let me make sure that I save all. I'll just swipe this up and get rid of it so that we don't have like an old version of it. And I'll do Flutter run one more time. Do I have the, I have the emulator, so let's try one more time. So yes, I just wanted to say again, guys, thank you so much for joining. I see a couple of folks in there, a couple of you just watching me code. This is me pretty much doing my regular coding at night, except for the fact that I have amazing people like you guys, like Mando, Serhan, all of you guys, Angel, thank you so much for joining. And also, keeping me honest and telling me where I make a mistake so that I can actually correct it. So I appreciate everybody joining and taking a look. Next session, next week, tell everybody, I'm going to be doing raffles. So please stay tuned because I'm going to be doing raffles for folks who join. Again, as a token of my appreciation, I'm going to be doing raffles live. I'm going to be raffling swag. I'm gonna be raffling t-shirts like this one. If you see this, Roman Just Codes t-shirt, I'm gonna be raffling some of these t-shirts next week. So for those of you, make sure to subscribe to this channel so that you get notified when the next event will be there, and then you can win like really cool stuff that I'm gonna be raffling. Again, I truly appreciate everybody joining. So we're gonna wrap up this piece before we call it a day, but at least I just wanted to make sure that the thanks are not missing. Everybody who just joins every Wednesday night, Flutter live coding after hours, Flutter edition. You guys are amazing, and please also, thank you so much for keeping me company at night. While everything is dark out there, everybody's sleeping, I'm here coding. So yes, that's exactly how the deal works. So does anybody have a question? Yeah, Nick, my pleasure, dude. My pleasure. I thank you also for joining, dropping your questions, always suggesting and whatnot. This is what we do. If you guys are bored, every Wednesday night from 9 to 11, tune in, guys, because, you might pick up a thing or two. You can make fun of me while I make mistakes, and all of that. From next week on, you might be able to win, a Roman Just Codes t-shirt. I'm gonna be raffling some of my merch. So, again, like I said, as a token of my appreciation, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. There we go. So we're building. Let's take a look. Let's make sure that now it's building correctly, and then we're gonna finalize that piece. Other than that, I think we got it. And next week, then we're gonna finalize like the animation on the character. But I think we have a really good, solid foundation for like how we build the game service. How the game service is gonna be this entity that initializes things and marshals and kind of serves as a proxy for communication. Oh, the notifier. What is it? What is it saying? No media query. Oh, there it is. You see? Now it's actually complaining that I need the swiping gesture is actually needing the difficulty service. I need to bring it down. I knew that this was not gonna fly like that. I need to bring it lower, one level lower on this one. That's why I was like, nah, I think these inherited providers actually need to be a little bit lower as opposed to being here when I like initialize like those things, because the media query needs to be under this. The media query is actually available under the material app. So the way that you could do that is, so let me see. So actually the material app actually has a method. I haven't used it much, but there is a builder that actually has a build context in here. And then this is the build context now that includes the media query. Why do I need the media query? Because I'm feeding it into the init game. Check this out. In the init game, I am accessing the media query, so I need it in my initialization. What does this thing need? Oh, this just needs to return a widget. I mean, I can just do this. I can just do this. Return sized box. I mean, you can return anything like an empty widget, something like this, so that it doesn't bark at me. So let me see. So my builder receives the context. Oh, it takes a widget. Oh, like a child. Oh, I can do that. There it is. And then I'll just return like something in here. So there you go. I'll do return like an empty thing, because all I need in my material app is just accessing the material, the context that contains the material. This one in here says that the media query, there's no ancestor for the media query. None of these get the media query. This one gets the media query. And because the game service is initialized, the game service, and the game service is gonna need the media query not only for this, for other things. I need to bring it one level down. That's why I'm like, wait, I think this is working, but I don't know, somewhere this is gonna blow up. So there it is. Now I think it should work fine. Now I have the media query service available in there. Now let's see when this application reloads. Now I should be able to see. And believe it or not, guys, you may not believe it, but I love when I get errors like this. Why? Because it's truly keeping me on my toes. Like, how would I have responded, to this type of errors on a live stream like this? I definitely love when you guys keep me honest and let me, make mistakes just as a regular human being. Just because I'm a Flutter GD, that doesn't mean I'm the expert. I see, you guys are giving me great suggestions, and that's why I love to do with the community. So let me kill the application completely. I'm gonna kill it. I'm going to just relaunch it again with my new changes. Now I'm pulling the material and I'm returning like a builder in there. So let me rebuild one more time. Yeah, Flutter run. That's what I wanted to see. Sorry, it's just the camera is blocking my screen. That's why I have to do that a little bit. So let's reload again. Let's make sure that my material app is actually wait, why am I returning this? I need to return this guy. I think it's this that I need to return. The actual child of the builder. So see, it's a widget. So I have to say widget child. I think this is what I need to return, because it says builder, return a widget, and then I have to return a child like this. You see? And then if I do what is this? There you go, like this. So I need to return the actual child of the whole application. It's just that the builder passes, gives you the child, and then you can reload. I think this is how it is. So I haven't used it. That's why I say like haven't used it. Anybody has used this method before? I knew there was a builder method that I could capture the context that does contain the media query. Then I can actually do something like this. So let's try it one more time. And then now I can initialize the game service. Now I can pass along the actual application widget, and then it will rebuild appropriately. That's why I was a little bit skeptical in there. But again, I really thank you guys always for joining, accompanying me in this live coding after hours Flutter edition every Wednesday from 9 p.m. Eastern time to 11. Also available on Twitch. So if you guys are watching me from Twitch, hey, what's up, guys? How's everybody on Twitch? This is also streaming on YouTube. And of course, like I said, you can be watching it on your phone. Drop a message, just like Nick, just like Mando, Sirhan, and Angel, all of you guys. Just drop me a message. Don't be shy. Just say hi. And we're here as a community, just learning from each other. So far, I think I've done a great progress. We're gonna wrap this up for today. I'm just gonna wrap up the last piece, because at least I wanted, like I show you, just to do the animation. And I've been doing some refactoring along the way, which actually goes in benefit of the application. So I definitely like what we've done so far. But yeah, make sure to follow me on Twitter at drcoders. I always drop there the when the next event will be, the next live streaming. But for all of you there, yeah, truly appreciate just tuning in. So let's see. Now it's building again. Now I think I should be able to see the whole thing. That was, I think, my mistake, because the builder is expecting something to return out of the builder, and I think it's that one. So let's see now if I was correct. So after it loads, there it is. So that's what it was. So I just needed to return the same widget that is kind of wrapping the material app, right? So I click on start. And then now we should be able to see every 2 seconds scrolling at the height of that. That's exactly what I want. You see? Very cool. Now let's wrap it up by just saying now my lily pond is not going to do it every 2 seconds, because I don't want it like that. I want it when I swipe. I want to perform the swipe, and I want the swipe to actually trigger the animation. So there's a couple of things that we can do. So let me think a best way that I can approach this. So the best way is, of course, let's get rid of that timing thing, right? And I need to actually listen to whoever is going to be whoever is going to be swiping. I need to listen to that. And of course, after I listen, I need to perform the animation. So I don't need the timer anymore. So let me get rid of the timer, and I don't think I even need the count either. So let me just do this. Let me get rid of these things. I don't need this, because that was just a test for me to show you that I could do it programmatically like that. I definitely need the service, or do I need it now? Oh, I may not need it. Well, the game service, of course, is needed to pull the other information. But I don't think I need this. I mean, I can try. But Sorry about that, but I don't need that. I actually need to initialize the, like the swiping somehow, right? I need to be able to then provide it, be able to perform the animation somewhere, right? Okay, so now instead of doing the timer, I'm not gonna do any timer, so I'm gonna remove the timer. I don't need this, but I do need this. So let me comment this out. I need the swiping service. Definitely I need this, because this is the one. Oh, I have an idea. Very cool. I have an idea, and this is pretty cool. I think I just came up with this. Now that I see that we have a reference to the Lily Pond scroll controller, why not perform that in the actual service that performs the swiping, that captures the swiping? Let me show you what I mean. So let me inject the service here in the init state. Try do this. I'm gonna create a method. Check this out. I'm gonna stop this guy, because let me swipe back, because I think it's just going weird, just behaving weird. Let me just go back to the previous screen. There we go. Okay, so now what I need is actually, I'm gonna create a method that is going to feed into the service that controller, that scroll controller. And then inside, I am going to perform that animation, depending on that. And then because I've already initialized that, I'm going to, this has already been initialized in the state. I already have that instance. So check this out. I'm going to do something like this. Swiping gesture service, like let's say set swiping controller, and then I'm going to pass the controller inside of my service. Check this out. Just hear me out. I'm going to create a method in that service. You right here on the swipe, I'll probably do this. Check this out. So I'm gonna create a scroll controller instance, and I'm gonna call it swipe controller, right? And I'm gonna have a method called set swiping controller, and of course I'm gonna call it scroll controller, right? I'll just initialize it. Like I'll have a reference, just a pointer to my swipe controller. And let me tell you why. Why? Because I want to do it here. Check this out. After the direction is provided, I want to then perform the animation in here. Because since I've already passed the reference in here, because I've already added, I can dispose of it here, that's okay. But I've already passed the instance, that reference to the list view. So I feed it into this controller. So now the controller, the service itself, is going to perform the animation when I do the swiping. So it will do it on my behalf. It will work. It will work. I guarantee it. So check this out. If I try this now, this is all I need. Actually, I need the count too. Okay, so let me try this. I mean, it's okay. I will need this. I know the direction. And I will do not Lily scroll controller. It's just swipe scroll controller because it's the reference. I need a duration, of course. Game service. I need a reference to the game service. So let's inject a build context so I can have access to that game service. I need that reference to the game service. I can pass this same one, but I kind of like to keep my I kind of like to keep my services and widgets more like, I kind of like to keep them very decoupled so that they don't depend on another one just feeding stuff to it, like via dependency injection or something. I like the services and the widgets to get their own dependencies. So in this case, all I need to inject is, of course, the build context, which is okay. But then now I have a reference of the game service so I can have access to this guy. Yes, I need a count, of course. So I'll say int count equals 0, for example. Yeah, and then here, oh, this is a nullable, of course. They animate to blah, blah, blah. And there it is. See, it should work. Now what I want to do is when it stops, oh, I need, of course, increment the count because I want to do that. So check this out. I will swipe, and I will swipe. And this will actually receive the direction. and will trigger the animation on that thing. So now let's take a look. I haven't tested it. That was my theory. Let's just see if this is gonna work. So now only when I swipe, that widget, the lily pond, gave a reference to its controller, and then the service itself, because it is being referenced in here in this swiping panel region. There you go. I need to pass the controller. I need to pass the context in here so that I can actually fetch the game service. So I'll pass the context very easily here, so I can access the game service. So I know about the width of the I know the width of the leaves, so I know the width and the height, so that way I know how much I need to scroll. So now if I swipe and I reload this, I'll reload it fully. Now, cross fingers, when I swipe, you should be able to see the thing moving. Let's see how it goes. I haven't done anything. Now let me swipe. So if I swipe, nothing yet. Let's just see swiping. It's not working yet. But I hope that when I need to make sure that I'm actually capturing that value on the other side. Because for some reason I was noticing that when I was swiping earlier, like it wasn't printing. So let's take a look at that. Let's print it again just one more time. So if I do like print and then I say up, yeah, I need to see it, because for some reason this should be able to trigger the swiping. This one is down, and now this one is left. Let's make sure. Let's go back to basics, and then with this, like I said, we'll wrap it up for tonight. Just at least I definitely want to see those swiping happening, because now with this, what we're doing is making sure that, yeah, this is just capturing it. And there you go. So now when I say save all, let me reload. I need to see at least up, down, blah, blah, blah. And then when we capture it on the other side, when we do that, we perform that animation for that widget. So now this widget must have provided that reference to it. So when I swipe, you see, there it is. Yes, got it. So you see, I was able to swipe. And then when I did it, it did the swiping. It's just that I think I'm going to make sure to see if I'm actually, something has been blocked in here. I think I'm gonna check my game panel, because it looks as if something is blocking it. So let me go back to my pages, and I'm gonna move it all the way up. So you see, the swiping panel region is all the way up. But I just wanted to make sure that why not make it like a make sure that it's actually full. I mean, the container is there. I know. I can try to do, what am I doing? I'm doing a center widget, a container. I'm doing a container. There it is. It's just that it has the margin and all of that. So now if I try it again, swiping, I was able to capture it. It's just that for some reason, there it is. You see? Okay. I think I know why. So I need to be able to do, for example, like, there it is. You see that I was able to, when I do the swipe, is doing the swiping. So when I do that, it's actually triggering that. Oh, it's because the swiping actually needs to be much larger. That's what it is. Look, when I swipe much larger and I do like a larger swipe, it actually does it. So it was a little weird. Like, I don't know why. I'm going to take a look at this, but at least I know that when I'm swiping, it is actually performing that swipe. You see, there it is. Every time I swipe, regardless if I do left or right, it should be doing that animation. So I'm satisfied with it. All I need to just make sure is that I probably increase on the, kind of like make sure that I do have like the region is properly capturing my mouse. And of course, this is just the mouse. I'm pretty sure that when I'm doing the swiping on, like, using my finger, it should be a lot more streamlined. But if you saw that when I was when I do like the swiping a lot more larger, it should be able to do it. So you see, it's pretty cool. So I just need to, of course, we definitely need to work like those kinks a little bit, but at least you were able to see that I was able to trigger from one widget to another widget, notify via a service and notify widgets, to perform that, the triggering of that, right? So I do that, I perform the swiping, and then it does that for me on my behalf. So that's what I like about, the fact that, you can do inter-widget communication, and then you can do all of these cool things. So let's try it again. If you see, if I do the swiping, I just need to make sure that I do it, I'm just, it looks like a little bit weird, but of course, I'll definitely take a look at this, but at least you see that I'm able to, trigger that notification from one widget to another. But of course, we're going to continue making more progress on this application. I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for joining. This was an amazing session. Again, this is, what I'm showing, what I'm targeting as finalizing. This is the application that we're building. We're going to continue hammering on this application. We're going to build a lot of really cool things. Please make sure to scan the QR code on the corner right here so that you can follow me on Twitter. Make sure to sign up and subscribe to these live streamings. I'm calling it Live Coding After Hours because I do it late at night. So again, I'm Roman. I am a Flutter GDE, lead organizer at GDG Lawrence, Google Developer Expert in Flutter and Dart. I'm so happy, to be accompanied by all of you. Thank you so much for accompanying me in this journey. Thank you so much. Have a great night. For those of you everywhere where you are, thank you for joining. Make sure to subscribe and like these videos, and see you on the next one. Follow me on Twitter at @DearCoders. See you on the next one next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to continue building this application. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Take care, everybody.